Come on. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Yes! We're free! We're free! Jerry Reinsdorf is selling the Chicago White Sox! The Pope has only been here for like a week, yet the White Sox have already gotten more blessed in that time frame than their entire 100-year history before. Braden Montgomery and Edgar Caro have already begun to hit the major leagues well, including a walk-off homer in Game 162. And of course, Jerry Reinsdorf sold the team. We have a new ownership group leading the charge, the Ishiba brothers. What type of luck will we get in today's episode? Well, let's find out, as we've got a lot to go over. We will talk about spring training. We will get through the very start of the regular season as we decide who's going to be on our final 26-man roster. And yes, we finally will go over international free agency in today's episode. I'm excited to talk about that in a few minutes, but first, let's go over our offseason and the offseason at large across Major League Baseball. Obviously, one of the big storylines was Jerry Reinsdorf selling his stake in the White Sox, and presumably that means we're going to be more aggressive with how we spend our money. We were not overly aggressive this offseason because we had to keep our roster young. The other challenge we landed on the wheel was our team had to be a full year younger than last year's team. So because of that, we could only add limited veterans. The group of position players is entirely unchanged. It's the exact group we had last year. We did make some additions to the pitching staff, though. German Marquez to a one-year contract, coming off the two best years of his career in Colorado. Not to mention he can swing the bat a little bit. His contact ratings are higher against both righties and lefties than that of Braden Montgomery, amongst other players on our team, which is pretty hard to believe. So it might actually make sense for us at times this year to have German Marquez hit occasionally, and I'm not even joking. We made some additions to the bullpen as well. Cionel Perez will likely be the closer to start the year. Tony Santillan was added from the Reds in the Bailey Falter deal. And then we also made an addition in the Rule 5 draft, adding Declan Cronin, coming from, I'm pretty sure, the Cardinals farm system, spent some time with the Marlins. Actually made his debut here with the White Sox in 2023, where he pitched in 9 games. So this is his second stint in Chicago. But otherwise, it was an uneventful offseason in terms of the player movement. But with the new ownership group in charge, you'd likely think that we're going to be more aggressive over the coming years. The biggest free agents were Tarek Skubal and Garrett Crochet. Skubal remains in Detroit. Crochet now with the Mets. And of course, we saw an abundance of trades at the end of the offseason as well. A lot of movement across Major League Baseball. And I think we've set our team up pretty well here for season number 3 going into the spring. But first, let's talk about international free agency. Finally. So what will that look like in this series? It'll be quite a bit different to what we had in the Giants series last year. So since we're going to get through more seasons in this series, I feel like it makes the most sense to not have each team get a new prospect every year, because at that point, the minor league systems would get too stacked. So basically, there will be 10 new prospects per season. The 10 teams that will be getting a prospect will be decided by a random generator. Teams can be selected on the generator multiple seasons in a row. So just because you may have gotten an international free agent last year doesn't mean you won't get one the following year. There's a chance in a 10-year span we could end up with 5 international free agent prospects. There's a chance that we end up with none as well. All prospects will be 19 years old, 62 overall, with 85 potential. That way, how good they end up being is pretty much solely based on their performance within the minor leagues, within the series. Today we will have 20 prospects. Since I didn't do this in season 1, we're going to have 10 prospects for year 1, 10 for year 2, and the prospects for season 1 will be 20 years old. They'll be 65 overall. Teams may trade their rights to future prospects as well. So basically, if we're shopping one of our veteran players at the deadline and we get some prospects back, let's say from, I don't know, the Phillies could give us their right to a spin. So the next time the Phillies land on the random generator, we would end up getting a prospect. An idea similar to this was suggested by one of my mods and one of my good friends, Nick. I altered with it a little bit, given that this is how we're going to do international free agency this year. So this is the first spin for season number 1. These are the 10 teams who will get a prospect. And then here is the second spin. And as you can see, the random generator did choose us for the second spin, so we will be getting a prospect today. The 10 teams on the left are the Season 1 teams. They'll be getting the 20-year-old prospects, and the 10 teams on the right will be getting the 19-year-old prospects. Note, however, there are a couple of squads who are here twice. The Angels and the Rangers were generated both times. So that means they will get 2 prospects, while some teams end up with none. That's part of the generator. You have to be lucky, and we know those 2 teams could use some luck. It's not like the Angels just landed a generational prospect in the draft. It's not like the Rangers made the World Series back-to-back years or anything. But let's meet the prospects. We'll start with the Season 1 group. 20 years old, 65 overall, 85 potential. Enrique Los Santos, a starting pitcher going to the Phillies. Jami Tan, a 6'7", 235-pound reliever, is going to the St. Louis Cardinals. Jacob Caffrey from Great Britain, 5'10", 190, really fast, good contact, good plate vision. He ends up with the Chicago Cubs. Akihiko Aragaki, big-time slugger from Japan. He will start his career in Toronto with the Blue Jays. Hugo Cashman Jr., a left-handed starting pitcher from Belize. Great control, strikes a lot of guys out. He's going to the Angels. Julio Puig, big-time power bat. He is going to the Cleveland Guardians. Luciano Santiago, a 6'4" lefty from Panama. He's going to the Dodgers. Hayate Yakishiho, going to the Mariners, a power-hitting third baseman. You know Seattle always likes to get their Japanese prospects in. Nick Medenticer from New Zealand goes to the Reds. I think he's going to be the best of the Year 1 prospects. He's got a smooth lefty stroke, good size, good power, good plate vision, and he doesn't really have any weaknesses. Camarillo Perez, a 6'6" lefty from Mexico, is headed to the Texas Rangers. And then for the Season 2 prospects, Japanese pitcher Oyama Hachigoro to the Washington Nationals. Outfielder Pedro Cairo from Venezuela to the Pirates. You are a real one if you remember Pablo Cairo from the Pirates franchise all the way back in MLB The Show 20. He was Tommy Rogers before Tommy Rogers, and honestly a little bit better. That's his son, following in his dad's footsteps. Lucas Campos from the Dominican Republic goes to the Mets. Maddox Charles from Sweden. The Rockies need some more pitching, and they're going to add him to the farm system. Tajari Campbell from Jamaica to the Marlins. Great speed, great glove, solid contact. Luca Mistrieta from Dominican Republic. Big-time power bat goes to the Angels. Zacharias Urania, a talented shortstop from the Dominican Republic, is off to the Red Sox. Jabari Basala, he's originally from Cameroon, but that's not in the game, so we're going to say he's from South Africa. He goes to the Rangers. I left 2 players off, however, from Season 2. The first of which is the Yankees prospect, and they're doing something a little bit different. Rather than signing a 19 or 20-year-old, they're going for a big fish, who we know pretty well around here. Munetaka Murakami has signed with the New York Yankees to be their third baseman. So this is a big splash for the Yankees adding to the lineup. He's going to fit nicely with Aaron Judge. We know Murakami very well around here. We had him in the Giants series last year, and it was a mixed bag. And an experience that I would rather not relive, although he was a good player. He had some good seasons and good moments, but I don't think he ever really lived up to the contract with us. The power was always great with him. I think he led the league in home runs one year, but his contact was really inconsistent. His clutch rating was always really high, but I felt like we never really got clutch hits out of him. I do think he has a chance to be more successful with the Yankees. I think he's a perfect fit for Yankee Stadium and the short porch in right field. He's going to hit a lot of home runs there. As for us, we also ended up signing a corner infielder as we have gone with French-Canadian first baseman Arsène De La Fontaine. It's an interesting pickup because we just used our first-round pick on Martin Burt last year. That's a really high investment. But the way I see it is I don't think the position you really play matters too much as a 19, 20-year-old prospect because we can easily mold you into the player we want to be if you're good enough. De La Fontaine has good power, solid contact, solid plate skills, not a good defensive player really at all, so we're going to have to work on that with him. The goal is at least one of him or Martin Burt develops into a good player, and we would hope that one of those guys is the long-term first baseman. De La Fontaine is now the 6th-ranked prospect in our system, and you'll notice that all of the international free agents are right next to each other, along with Oswaldo Escobedo for some reason. But I think it's because they're all the same ratings, the same potential, the same age, And then here are the 20-year-olds who are a little bit better, but obviously a little bit older as well. So that's our first group of international free agents. If your prospect made this group, congratulations. If your prospect was not selected, have no fear. They will still be eligible in the future. And if you would like to make a prospect for future seasons, make sure to go join the Discord. The link is in the description. Now on to spring training. We've got an extra spot on the 40-man roster as Cody Hosey still recovers from his torn ACL. I manually gave him the injury because it's realistic. He got hurt in June. He wouldn't be back this quick. So we're going to have it be Claudio Rubio, our 4th-round draft pick from Coastal Carolina. He's going to get some run with the big league club, and we'll see if he's potentially good enough to appear in the major leagues earlier than I would have expected. There's a lot of young guys I'm excited to watch, and I'm hoping we'll have a good chance of cracking the final roster. Douglas Cato, Braden Montgomery, Edgar Caro, Colson Montgomery, Romeo Sanabria, Oswaldo Escobedo. All of those guys have a real shot to make the final roster. Some of them will, some of them probably won't. And then in terms of the pitching, Drew Thorpe and Herman Marquez are locked into the rotation. Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz probably will start the year in the rotation unless they really stink here in the spring. And then the 5th spot is wide open. Owen White, Jonathan Cannon, Jairo Iriarte, Jagger Haynes, Wilkeman Gonzalez, and Prelander Baroa will all have an opportunity to take the number 5 spot, and maybe numbers 3 and 4 if either Smith or Schultz really struggle. Hopefully that does not happen because we obviously need those two guys to play well. I'm also excited to see some of our new relievers in action as well as we simulate through the spring, and the team ended up doing not great, which I guess is kind of to be expected. We go 10-16, not horrible, but not great either, towards the bottom of the Cactus League. Our run differential was only -4 though, and we were a lot better than the Cubs. So that's a win. Let's take a look at who stood out positively and negatively. In terms of the high-level performers, Corey Julks, Kyle Teel, that's great to see. He hit for good power, which has, of course, been an issue with him in the past. Luis Robert is ready to rock and roll. Luis Angel Acuna and Brian Ramos were both good. And then in terms of the young guys, they were all pretty average. Colson Montgomery was fine. Romeo Sanabria, Braden Montgomery, Escobedo, Caro, they were all pretty average. They weren't bad, but they weren't good. Colson Montgomery was not great. And then as we look at the pitching, Owen White was the standout. In terms of the guys competing for the 5th starter role, he was probably the best. The other 4 guys in the rotation were all good. Marquez and Thorpe look strong. Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz are officially in the rotation to start the year. And then in terms of guys who were not so good, Declan Cronin, our Rule 5 pick, struggled. Jairo Iriarte really was bad. Ciano Perez, the closer with an ERA above 10, that's not ideal. So now it's time to narrow the roster from 40 to 26. Owen White will be the 5th starter to open up the year, so these guys are going to go down to the minors. Cannon, Haynes, Iriarte. Big season for Jairo Iriarte. This is his final minor league option. I think when he eventually comes up to the big leagues at some point this year, because I would think he will, we will probably use him primarily as a reliever. That's where he has pitched better, but I still want him to start games in the minors. Prelander Baroa will keep his role as the lone reliever. Wilkeman Gonzalez, I thought, had a solid spring, but we're going to start him in the minors. And then in terms of the bullpen, Inoli Paredes, a little bit of a surprise, but he does not make the final roster. Kyle Nelson will go down to the minors, as will Grant Holman. Declan Cronin had a rough spring, but we're going to stick with him for now. If he struggles early, we're probably going to move on. Teel and Caro both make the team. Romeo Sanabria hit for good power, and through the first 2 weeks of the spring, he looked like a lock, but he really struggled down the stretch, so he will be sent down. Oswaldo Escobedo will not start the year in the big leagues. He's going to go to AAA. Hopefully he can get the call up sooner rather than later. Charles LeBlanc, a little bit of a surprise, but he will make the opening day roster. Ramos and Rivera are good, obviously. Jacob Gonzalez will be sent down. Brooks Baldwin will be sent down. Maton is good. Monasterio is good. And then Colson Montgomery, we are going to keep him. He's hit .324 over his last 10, so maybe there's some optimism. Deloach we're going to send down. Claudio Rubio, I thought, had a really good spring, but he hasn't played any minor league baseball. I want to get his feet wet a little bit. And then for the last spot, I know he was great down the stretch last year, but I kind of want to give Braden Montgomery a few reps in AAA because remember, we skipped him right from AA to the big leagues, and while he was really good, he only played 9 games. We're going to look to call him up early, though, if he's playing well. So there is the 26-man roster that we will roll with to start season number 3 of the series. Some surprises. Hopefully some of the young guys like Escobedo, Braden Montgomery can eventually come up. We've got one more order of business, though, before we get to the new season, and that's contracts. This is the first opportunity we can talk about an extension with Luis Robert, and I haven't exactly hid my intentions by keeping him during the season 1 offseason, during the trade deadline last year, during the season 2 offseason. I've made it pretty clear that I want to keep him. I think he's too good to let go of, and now that we have an ownership group that's going to spend money, it's probably going to be a lot easier to get this done. So I want to re-sign him. The owners want to re-sign him. But does Luis Robert want to come back? Luis likes the idea of being the face of the team, and he feels like the White Sox are going in a positive direction with the new ownership group and the young talent starting to come up. But he's also sick and tired of losing. He wants to play meaningful baseball in October. And while he thinks the White Sox are trending in the direction of eventually being a playoff caliber team, he needs to see it to believe it. So what we're going to do is we're going to offer him a short-term deal. We're looking 2 years, $75 million. This way, there's pressure on everybody to continue to be successful. Looking at it from Lou Bob's point of view, yeah, obviously you want to get the long-term deal here, but he's getting a higher AAV than he would have otherwise. Instead of making $31 million a year, he's now making 37.5, and he'll still be able to cash out in a few off seasons from now, whether it's with us or with somebody else. There's a lot of pressure on us to be successful and try to build a winner. And if we haven't made ground in the standings and are still winning less than 70 games by the time we get to season 5, and we're in the exact same boat we are now and he only has 1 year left, he's not going to want to sign another contract with us. But for now, he's sticking around, and hopefully it'll be worthwhile for everybody, and by the time we get to season 5, we can give him the big deal that he's looking for. That's not the only extension I'm looking to do, however. Obviously, Luis Robert is the best player on the team. He's the face of the team. But who's the second best player? And I would like to extend that player right now. It might not be who you think, though. It's not Drew Thorpe. It's not Hagen Smith. It's not Noah Schultz. It's not Brian Ramos. It's actually Kyle Teel. I feel like Kyle Teel is on the verge of becoming an all-star. And his outstanding spring, hitting above 300, OPS over 1,000, hitting for good power, cemented that for me. Last year he had his ups and downs. Obviously he had the 3 home run game in Boston and then homered 3 more times over the last 4 months. But he's an ascending offensive player who's one of the best defensive catchers in the league. 3.5 WAR last year, that was 11th amongst catchers. So if he improves offensively and takes another step, we're looking at one of the better starting catchers in the league. 6 years, $60 million is the offer, and he would say yes. So we're going to get him through his entire arbitration along with the first 2 years of free agency. So Drew Thorpe is here for another 5 years. Luis Robert is here for at least another 3, making a lot of money. And Kyle Teel will be here for the next 7 years. It's a lot of money, but I think it's worth it for these 3 guys. These are the types of players who we want to build this thing around. And I think especially for Thorpe and Teel, those contracts are going to look like bargains in a few years from now. We would not be able to do all that with Jerry Reinsdorf here. We maybe would have figured out how we're going to bring back Luis Robert. We certainly would not have been able to get the Kyle Teel deal done, however. So now the team is set for the new season, and this is what the lineups are going to look like against righties. The changes include Brian Ramos moving up to the 2 spot, Kyle Teel hitting 4th. Edgar Caro's going to play every day. I thought he had a solid spring after a great end of the year last year. I think he's ready to be a full-time big leaguer. Teel and Colson Montgomery will not play against lefties. Hopefully we get to a point this year where they're both good enough to do so, especially Kyle Teel. And I have faith in him to do so. I just gave him $60 million, so he better. As for the rotation, Owen White's going to have to play well if he wants to keep his spot. And then for the bullpen, I know Cionel Perez did not have a good spring, but he will be the new closer. We were dead last in saves last year while having the most amount of blown saves in the league. So I think a role in the middle of the bullpen probably suits Penn Murphy a little bit better. One more order of business before the opener against the Diamondbacks, and that is the wheel. Last year I gave us 2 wheel spins to start the year, and that's what I'm going to do again. 1 hitter, 1 pitcher. For the hitter, I decided to go with Douglas Cato because he's such a wild card. Of course, the 21 durability rating is a big concern with him, But when he's on the field, he's a talented player, and I feel like the range of outcomes with his season is very wide. I thought he showed some good things last year in a little over 30 games. Of course, he missed most of the year with an injury. Surprise, surprise. We should put on the wheel 99 durability. That would save his career. Unfortunately, it is not, though, but hopefully we land on a good spin nonetheless. First spin of season number 3 for Douglas Cato. Ooh, that's a good one, especially for him. Long-term start, potential goes up by 5, and with a good month, it can go up by 10. So one of the issues with Cato when we drafted him, other than his god-awful durability, is that his potential and his rating are just about identical. He's a 77 overall with 78 potential, but now that goes up to 83, and with a good month, it can go all the way up to 88. This could entirely change his long-term outlook on this team. Now, granted, none of that's going to matter if he isn't healthy, but I'm a little bit more excited about Douglas Cato's future than I was 2 minutes ago. For the pitcher, we're going to go with Owen White. He just won the number 5 spot in the rotation. He threw 10 starts with us at the end of last year, and he was pretty horrific. I mean, there weren't really many positives to dig off of that, but he was very good in AAA for 4 months prior, and he had a really good spring. He earned the opportunity to be in the rotation, so let's hope we get a good spin here for Owen White as we land on power play. Minus 20 to walks and hit per 9, plus 20 to home runs and Ks per 9. This really won't necessarily affect his rating positively or negatively, but for those of us who know MLB The Show Sim, we know that this is not a good thing. Hits per 9 and walks per 9 are the most important stats for a pitcher in simulation. So yes, he's going to strike some more guys out, but he's also going to allow a few more base runners and thus, by definition, a few more runs, which is not ideal. That gets us set for the opener against the Diamondbacks. It's our first game, but it's not theirs. They're partaking in the International Series against the Pirates. Why the Pirates? I mean, I get they have Paul Skeens, but Paul Skeens isn't even healthy. He got hurt in the spring. So the Diamondbacks would end up winning both of these games, 6-4 and 7-2. It kind of works out for us, though, because now we don't have to face off against either Framber Valdez or Corbin Burns. Now, it's a week after their first 2 games, so I'm not sure why they're not pitching either of those two, but it helps us. We're going to get through the first 2 series today, 3 on the road in the desert, and then 3 on the road against the Angels, where we will get to meet the number 1 prospect in baseball, Russell Russo, the generational first baseman, who we, of course, passed on in the draft for a player at his same position. It's ironic that we have 2 of the top 4 first base prospects and 3 of the top 7. Hopefully, we have our first base position locked up for the future of one of those guys, or Romeo Sanabria, who was on this list last year before we called him up. So with that, our housekeeping is done, and we can get started with season number 3, opening day in Arizona against the already 2-0 Arizona Diamondbacks. If you remember last year, during the opening day episode, I did the 2 wheel spins, not just for our team, but for every team across the league. A few people in the comments felt like that was too much, and I kind of agree with that. I do want to do something for the other 29 teams. I haven't exactly figured that out since I've been spending a lot of time on the international free agents. So I might do something before the next episode. If anyone has ideas, feel free to share them down below in the comments. Let's look at our opponent here, the Diamondbacks, who are projected to finish 85 and 77, right on the fringe of a playoff spot. This team has plenty of star power. Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo leading the way. Both of those guys had a WAR above 7 last year. They need more out of Corbin Carroll, though. He really struggled a year ago, and they're going to need him to play a lot better as he's actually moved all the way down to the number 6 spot in the order. Ryan Nelson on the bump for Arizona. Again, I don't know why this isn't Framber Valdez. This is 9 days in between his first start, but it helps us, so I'm not going to complain. Ryan Nelson is no slouch, though. 4.08 ERA, 1.26 whip a year ago, as we start with the former Diamondback, Emmanuel Rivera, to get us started in season number 3. A blooper into center. Jake McCarthy is under it for the first out of the inning as we take a look at the White Sox lineup and everyone's projected batting average. If Colson Montgomery hits 190 again, we're going to have big problems. Hopefully that does not end up happening. That would make me quite sad. Brian Ramos now up with 1 away. He continues to impress over the first 2 seasons of the series, but he goes down looking on the outside fastball. Nice pitch by Nelson. Luis Robert, $75 million richer since we last saw him up. Ahead 3-1. Lines it to second. What a play! Ketel Marte It's a 1-2-3 inning for the Diamondbacks. An impressive scoop by Marte, who was the most valuable player in the National League in 2026 by WAR. Arguably should have won the MVP over some of the guys they had on that list. As we go to the bottom of the first, we take a look at Drew Thorpe. His second career opening day start. In between those two games, of course, he's made himself an extra $75 million, just like his teammate Luis Robert. 3.66 ERA, 1.29 whip in 2026. Was not quite as good as his all-star campaign a year prior, but was still very solid. He will walk Jake McCarthy to get things started. McCarthy is 99 speed, one of the fastest guys in the league. The White Sox are third in the game in terms of speed rating. The Diamondbacks are probably one of the only teams ahead of us. On the ground, there will be no double play. Perdomo is safe at first. The throw a little bit offline by the shortstop, Luis Angel Acuna. We're trying to get him used to playing shortstop. That's where I see him fitting long term. Ketel Marte singles into right. Two base runners here for Arizona as Perdomo digs for third, and he is safe despite a solid throw by Baddoo. So now there's runners on the corners and one away. Big opportunity for Arizona to strike early. The catcher, Adrian Del Castillo, rips it up the middle. That goes by Acuna for a base hit. Perdomo will score, and the Diamondbacks are on the board here in the first inning as they lead it 1-0. Jose Miranda hits that one into center. Marte will round third, heads home, throw to the plate is not in time, and it's 2-0 Diamondbacks. Miranda did not play at all in the big leagues in 2026. Was great in the minors, though. As there's 2-1 for Corbin Carroll on the ground. Montgomery, Ramos, over to first. Rivera for a 5-4-3 double play. We needed to turn 2 bad there, but the Diamondbacks score 2 as it's 2-0 going into the second. Teal off the glove of Miranda at first. Marte tries to flip it to Nelson, but not before Kyle Teal makes it to the bag. An unlikely single, but hey, we'll take it. Runner aboard to start the inning. Edgar Quero was great in his lone month in the majors last year as that one gets by Del Castillo. Teal on his way to second. He's pretty fast for a catcher as he's in off the wild pitch. The force out at second is no more. We don't have to worry about the double play. Quero would advance him to third. So with one away, we've got a great chance to potentially score him. Akil Baddoo lines it into left. It is caught. We are going to bring Teal back. He would have very clearly been out. So now there's 2 away. Now we're going to need a base hit. And it'll be the number 7 hitter, Douglas Kato, the 19-year-old from Japan. His first full season in the big leagues. And he pops it up. We're hoping for a big year out of him. That's certainly not a big hit as Del Castillo makes the play. And it will remain at 2-0 as Nelson is able to get out of it without allowing any runs. Going into the bottom of the second, 7, 8, 9 hitters due up for the D-backs. Jordan Lawler goes down on the cutter. Hopefully Drew Thorpe can start to settle in here after a rough start as he now faces off against Michael Busch, who had 3 homers in the International Series against the Pirates, hitting .625, but he goes down on the fastball. Edward Tashner is up, a third-round pick in 2025, played 60 games for Arizona last year and was very respectable. Count is full for the 19-year-old, and he will send this one into left center. That will go for a hit. Didn't hit it very hard, only 74 off the bat, but he placed it perfectly into no man's land to give the Diamondbacks a runner aboard for Jake McCarthy. Runner goes. Teal, the throw to second is in time! That's why we paid him $60 million. Base hit in the top half of the inning, throws out a runner in the bottom half. Kyle Teal, the catcher of the future in Chicago, showing us why as he guns down Edward Tashner and we move into the third. Colson Montgomery, big year for him. Grounds that one by Miranda for a base hit. Colson Montgomery starts his season batting 1,000. His batting average is often starting with a 1, but usually it's because it's in the 100s. I can't imagine he'll stay in the 1,000, so we'll enjoy it while it lasts. Luis Angel Acuna on the ground. 6-4-3, quick double play for the Arizona defense. Well, that base runner did not last very long for us, did it? Back to the top of the order. Emmanuel Rivera is up, and he gets plunked. His former teammate hits him on the elbow, and Rivera does not look pleased. Runner aboard, 2 away for Brian Ramos, who struck out last time. Chops it on the ground. He wanted to protect with 2 strikes, but Perdomo is able to flip the weak grounder over to second. 3 scoreless for Ryan Nelson. He's looked good so far. And the White Sox have not been able to get much offensively. Into the bottom of the third, we'll see if Drew Thorpe can fare a little bit better against the middle of the order. McCarthy is back up, and he will bloop it into center for a hit. That one was only 68 off the bat. That pitch was way inside. It was a great pitch by Drew Thorpe, but McCarthy gets really lucky, and the 99 speed outfielder is aboard to start the inning. Perdomo into right. Baddoo cannot make the play. It one hops off the wall. Rounding third, headed home. It is an RBI double for Geraldo Perdomo, and the Diamondbacks lead it 3-0. Arizona continuing to get some early runs, and we'll see if they can add to it even further. Marte goes down looking. What a pitch. Pinpoint accuracy on the bottom left corner of the strike zone by Drew Thorpe. Adrian Castillo brought in a run his last time up, behind 1-2, and he goes down on the fastball. The swing and miss stuff has looked pretty solid from Thorpe so far, even though Arizona's gotten their fair share of base runners. That'll bring up Jose Miranda, who also brought in a run his last time up. This one gets by Teal. Perdomo makes his way over to third. I don't really think that's going to change much. I guess now if there's an infield hit, he would score. Otherwise, not really that big of a deal. 3-1. Miranda draws a walk. And there's runners on the corners. This could get ugly fast if Thorpe does not get out of the jam. It's Corbin Carroll coming off a disappointing 2026. Swing and a miss on the slider. Thorpe strikes out 3, but he has allowed 3 runs through the first 3 innings. Not good enough for number 33. A lot of 3s as we move into the 4th. Edgar Caro with 2 away, ahead 3-1. He sends this one into the left center gap. Go ball go! This one will bounce over the wall for a ground rule double. Caro did not have a great 2026 in the minors. Of course, was terrific in the big leagues. Pretty average again in the spring. Maybe he's just best when the lights are brighter. As Akil Baddoo weakly grounds out to the pitcher. That's 4 scoreless innings. For Ryan Nelson, only 3 base runners for us so far. The offense has not been good enough. Bottom 4, Michael Busch goes down on the cutter. Drew Thorpe has had some really good moments in this game. He's had some really good at-bats. It just hasn't necessarily been consistent. He looks a little bit rusty, which he did last year on opening day as well against the Tigers, who obviously won 95 games. Tashner lines out to right. We are through 4. Should be an interesting decision on whether or not Thorpe stays in for the bottom of the 5th. Douglas Cato, baby! Launches it into left center with the bat flip. 438 feet above the seats onto the concourse. 107 off the bat for Douglas Cato. That ball was absolutely launched. Second home run of his big league career, obviously his first of the year. And the White Sox are on the board to start the 5th. An absolute piss missile from Douglas Cato. Of course, he's got some issues with his game, specifically the durability, but I think we're looking at a really talented player. And as I mentioned, going into the year, I think he's the biggest wild card on this team. And if he plays well, if he stays healthy, his team could be a lot better than people think. 2 away, Rivera into left center, got some carry to the wall. It is caught by Tashner. Not a bad inning, though. The White Sox on the board with a solo shot by Douglas Cato. Jake McCarthy leads the bottom half. Into center, it is caught! What a catch by Luis Robert. Won a Gold Glove last year, showing off the impressive defensive ability with a diving grab to start the inning. His pitcher loving what he's seeing. That'll bring up Geraldo Perdomo now with 1 away, behind in the count, 1-2. This ball is hit well into center. We're going to need another really nice catch. Robert at the track, at the wall. He makes the catch again. Running into the wall as he's able to make the grab. The best defensive outfielder in Major League Baseball, showing it there on back-to-back at-bats. 2 away and a full count for Ketel Marte. This one will get by the diving glove of Acuna for a single into left. So going into the bottom of the 5th, it was a 1 base runner limit for Drew Thorpe. You allow a runner, we're going to take you out of the game. Well, he allows a runner. He's lucky it didn't happen earlier with Luis Robert making 2 ridiculous catches. But he will be taken out of the game. 4 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs allowed so far. Not his best game, not his worst, but certainly would have hoped for a little better. Tony Santillan will make his White Sox debut. 3.91 ERA a year ago with the Reds, acquired in the Bailey Falter deal. We're trying to get some serious relievers into the bullpen. No more goofy goobers. Adrian Del Castillo lines this one into center. Robert chases after it as he records all 3 outs in the bottom of the 5th. What a stud. 3-1 going into the 6th. The White Sox finally scored in the top of the 5th. We'll see if the offense can get a little more going, and it will be against the new pitcher. Very solid start for Ryan Nelson. He'll be replaced by the veteran Sir Anthony Dominguez, pitching in his first big league game since 2024. He will start with Luis Robert behind 1-2. And this ball is belted up the middle for a base hit. Luis Robert looking really solid with some great defense. He's hitting the ball hard. Now he ends up on base. And we'll see if the White Sox can look to cut the lead with the middle of the order up. Kyle Teel has also looked solid early in this game. Lou Bob digs for second. He is safe with a stolen base. I feel like we need to utilize Luis Robert more as a threat on the bases. He can run. He just doesn't do it a lot. Full count now for Kyle Teel, the runner in scoring position, as this one is belted back up the middle. Lou Bob rounding third, heads to the plate, and there will be no throw from the center fielder Jake McCarthy. An RBI single for Kyle Teel, his second hit of the game, and the lead is within 1, as that'll make it 3-2. A warm welcome back to the big leagues for Sir Anthony Dominguez. Full count for Bedu. This one is chopped over to short. Perdomo makes the play, but another solid inning. The White Sox cut the lead to 1 with an RBI single for Kyle Teel as it's now 3-2. We started the game off slowly, but we're starting to play better. The offense getting a little bit more comfortable. Tony Santillan still in. He's looking good so far. 3-2. Lawler goes down looking. 4 up, 4 down. A good first impression for Tony Santillan, as that will bring us into the 7th. It's still anyone's game. We'll see if the White Sox can look to tie it up. Look who's up to get things started. It's Douglas Cato, who homered back in the 5th, now against the new pitcher in John Curtis as he looks at the fastball. Good take. What I like most about Cato's game is his plate discipline. With somebody of his speed, you want him getting on base. Cato tied for the team lead in stolen bases last year despite only playing 1 month as he goes down looking on the fastball. I thought that was outside for ball 4. We would have gotten him aboard. We would have liked to have him steal second, but unfortunately it doesn't happen. Montgomery into the opposite field. That is a fair ball. We'll roll to the wall. He will round first, digs for second, and Colson Montgomery with a 2-hit game here in the opener. If this is a sign of things to come, we should be pretty excited. Colson Montgomery has not lived up to the hype so far. We're giving him another opportunity, and he's looked good today. Rivera pops this one in to right with 2 away. It is caught by Corbin Carroll. And Curtis is able to get out of the 7th despite allowing the double to Montgomery. Declan Cronin out of the bullpen here in the bottom of the 7th. Technically his White Sox debut. He was here for 9 games in 2023, but his debut for his second stint as Michael Busch hits it up the middle for a single. Cronin has not pitched in the big leagues since 2025 as he allows an early runner to get things started. Edward Tashner now up for Arizona, behind in the count 1-2. And Tashner hits this one well into center. It's got some carry. Luis Robert, can you be the hero again? He makes another nice catch at the wall. Runner heads back over to first. It gives us such an advantage defensively to have this good of a defensive player in center field, one of the most important positions on the diamond defensively, as Jake McCarthy goes down on the sweeper. Nice pitch by Cronin. That'll bring up Geraldo Perdomo. He's ahead in the count, 2-1. Perdomo hits that one over the glove of Rivera. It'll roll to the wall and right. Bedu gets to it quickly. The throw to the cutoff man, Rivera to the plate. It's going to be close, and he is out of there! Trying to get home from first. The risky base running for Arizona does not pay off. Bedu to Rivera to Teel. 9-3-2. The final out of the 7th as we move into the 8th. Back end of the pen is in for Arizona. We'll start with Justin Martinez. He's pitched in both games so far. He's allowed a run, and he'll face off against arguably the best hitters on the team. 2-3-4. Brian Ramos, good start as he singles in to right. And the tying run is aboard for Chicago, one of our faster base runners, no less. That'll bring up Luis Robert. He hits this ball high and deep into left center. It's got some carry. At the track, at the wall, it is caught! Edward Tashner comes down with it. That one had a chance off the bat. I didn't really think he hit it that well, but it just stayed in the air for so long. It was close to making it over the fence, maybe a few inches away. I don't think Tashner robbed him of a homer. It probably would have been a double. Still a really nice defensive play. So now one away for Kyle Teel. He goes chasing the splitter. That was not the pitch to swing at. 2 away for Edgar Caro. That was not the pitch to swing at. It gets by Del Castillo, and we are going to move Ramos up to second. So he's now in scoring position, and a base hit from Caro would tie the game. Count is full. He draws a walk. That's a really good take. Splitter barely outside the strike zone. So now we've got 2 on, 2 away. And Arizona is going to make a switch. Torey Lovullo has seen enough. So Justin Martinez has allowed 2 base runners. He nearly allowed a homer as his afternoon ends prematurely. Coming out of the pen for Arizona will be their new closer, signed from the rival Dodgers, Brusdar Graterol, who's 1 for 1 in save ops, although he did allow a run. Sub-2 ERA with the Dodgers last year. He made himself some money. One of the prized reliever options in free agency, deciding to stay in the National League West. Biggest at bat of the game, it's Akil Baddoo ahead 2-1, and that one gets by Del Castillo again. Both runners move up, and this changes things. With 2 runners in scoring position, a base hit for Akil Baddoo, who's one of the best clutch hitters on the roster, would probably give us the lead. Ahead 3-1, and he will draw a walk on the outside slider. Oh dear, the bases are loaded here in the opener. Who will get the at-bat? It's Douglas Cato. Bases loaded, 2 away, down by 1 as that's outside for ball 3. Imagine if they walk in the run, especially with the last 2 guys both getting on off of walks, and Cato does have some of the best discipline on the team. Ahead 3-1, up the middle, gets by Marte, 1 run scores, we're tied. Second run, Caro is safe at the plate, and the White Sox take the lead. Douglas Cato is the hero. What an opening day for the young outfielder from Japan. 2 hits, a homer, and 3 RBIs as it's 4-3. That one gets by Montgomery. Baddoo heads home on the wild pitch. He's safe, and it's 5-3. 3 wild pitches in this inning alone for Arizona. What is going on? I don't know if you can really blame the pitcher because it's 2 separate pitchers who have had wild pitches. Maybe it's an issue with Del Castillo. Montgomery liner into left, caught by Tashner. Big 8th inning for the White Sox, who now have the lead. 2-run single with 2 away for Douglas Cato. And Akil Baddoo scores off of a wild pitch as it's 5-3, bottom 8. Time for the back end of the bullpen to win this game. A new role for Penn Murphy instead of the closer. We're going to use him earlier in games. I think he's better suited for these low leverage spots. He blew nearly 25% of his saves last year. Del Castillo leads off the inning with a base hit. A runner aboard here for Arizona. The tying run up. We'll see if they can respond after the big inning from the White Sox as Del Castillo looks to make up for his horrible defense. Jose Miranda swinging a miss on the sinker. Good pitch by Murphy for the second out. Big at bat here for Corbin Carroll. He hasn't given him anything today, 0 for 3. Count is full. Runner goes. Carroll flies it high into center. Luis Robert under it quickly, and he will make the grab. A strong inning for Penn Murphy. The White Sox go into the 9th inning up by 2. We're not going to blow this game, right? There's no way. We're not going to do it. So there will be a pitching change in the 9th. Brusdar Graterol did not pitch all that well, and he'll be replaced by Ryan Thompson. 2.89 ERA in 2026, a very solid season for the submarine throwing righty. He'll start with Luis Angel Acuna, who goes down on the slider. 0 for 4 today. I know the numbers don't look great, but I thought he hit the ball pretty hard when he put the bat to the ball, unlike that at bat. Bloop single into right for Brian Ramos. Back-to-back innings with a hit. And so he is aboard with 2 away and a chance for Chicago to add some insurance. That'll bring up Luis Robert. His defense has been his calling card today as he pops this one into right center. That one has a lot in the air, just like his last fly out. Doesn't go as far as it's caught by Carroll. Going into the ninth, the White Sox lead at 5-3. A 2-run lead for our new closer, Cionel Perez, who makes his White Sox debut. I don't think he's going to have an ERA this low again, given that his whip sits at 1.35 from last year. But he was really good in high leverage spots, despite his pitching clutch rating in the 40s. Jordan Lawler goes down on the fastball. Good starts. That'll bring up Michael Busch. Count is even, 2-2. Busch, grounder to short. Acuna, the throw to first. Not in time. It's bobbled by Rivera. A throwing error for Luis Angel Acuna. And there's a runner for the Diamondbacks. Acuna's throw is far from perfect. I still feel like Rivera could have made a play, though, at first nonetheless. Blaze Alexander off the bench as a pinch hitter. That is a fair ball. Bounces off the wall and right. The runner will hold at third. But a big hit for Blaze Alexander. 99 contact against left-handed pitching. This is why Arizona employs him. He's making the most of his opportunity. 2 runners in scoring position. Tying run at second. Full count for McCarthy, who draws a walk. And the winning run is aboard with 99 speed. So we are going to take Cionel Perez out of the game. He's allowed a runner off of an error, which isn't really his fault. But since then, he's allowed a double and a walk. So Perez's first save opportunity will not end with a save. His pitching clutch rating is in the 40s. Danny Young's is 91. I trust him a little bit more in this spot. 4.4 ERA last year, not the best, but he is a high leverage guy who is at his best in these big spots. 2-2 for Geraldo Perdomo. Blooper into foul territory. Rivera will make the play, and the White Sox are 1 out away from winning their first opening day of the series. It comes down to Ketel Marte, the best player on the team. Count is even, 1-1. That one is inside for ball 2. Danny Young looking for the save and to put the White Sox at 1-0. The 2-1. This one is belted into the gap. This could end it. It's 5-4. The tying run scores. It's 5-5. McCarthy, 99 speed. Safe at home. Arizona walks it off. Ketel Marte with a 3-run double to win it for the Diamondbacks. The White Sox lose on opening day for a 3rd year in a row in this series. We lose on a walk-off for the 2nd year in a row. The Diamondbacks win it here in the 9th inning with a 3-run double for Ketel Marte. Jake McCarthy with 99 speed, the winning run, as Arizona is now 3-0 after their first 2 wins against Pittsburgh and whatever foreign country they played in. Maybe it was North Korea. Kim Jong-un, a baseball fan, perhaps? Who knows? Cionel Perez gets the loss. Neither of the runs he allowed were earned, which is kind of stupid. I get that the error with Acuna, that shouldn't be an earned run, but the other 2 runners, the hit and the walk he allowed, were both with 1 out. They both scored with 1 out. So I feel like they should both be earned. It helps his numbers, so I'm not going to complain too much, but that's kind of dumb. 5 runs, 10 hits for the offense. Montgomery had multiple hits. Teal had multiple hits. Home run for Cato. He drove in 3. Drew Thorpe was okay. I thought the bullpen played really well, honestly, and then Perez and Danny Young kind of let a get away. Ryan Nelson with a good start. Diamondbacks hit the ball well early, struggled in the middle, but obviously they had the big 9th inning to close it off. So we start the year 0-1. We've got 3 more in Arizona and then 3 in Anaheim against the Los Angeles Angels, getting us set for the home opener, which will kick off the next episode against the Kansas City Royals. So here in the second game, Luis Robert has homered twice, and he's looking for a 3rd. Hasn't really resulted in team success. We're down 8-4. German Marquez had an abysmal White Sox debut. 3-2, Lou Bob draws a walk. Castillo does not give him a pitch to hit, so he's not going to hit it. Now into the 9th, down to our final out. It's 10-4. Lawler with a homer, Perdomo with an RBI single. Ryan Thompson looks to shut the door. Luis Robert hits this one well, though, into left center. It's got a chance at the wall. Off the wall! Almost his 3rd home run of the game. Instead, he will settle for a double. We would drive him in. Kyle Teal brings him home with a single. Akil Baddoo with a 3-run homer. The comeback effort is not enough, however, as the Diamondbacks win this game 10-8. Look at these goofballs in the outfield. So we score 8 runs. The offense had a great game, but German Marquez forgot how to pitch. Luis Robert, 3 for 4, 3 extra base hits, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs. Akil Baddoo goes deep as well. Bullpen honestly wasn't even that bad. It was really just Marquez. 15 hits, 3 walks, 10 runs for Arizona. Homers for Perdomo, Carroll, Del Castillo, and Lawler. Douglas Cato, pulled calf. He's out for a week or two. It took us until Game 2 for him to get hurt, so Zach DeLoach will come up. As for the last game, we've got a chance to avoid the sweep. Bases loaded here in the 8th. Luis Angel Acuña's had a pretty good game, a hit and a walk, but I actually trust Colson Montgomery a little bit more in this spot. Against Justin Martinez, first pitch, crushed into right field. This ball goes off the top of the wall at 6-5. Second run scores at 7-5. A 2-run double off the bench for Colson Montgomery. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we are 2 for 2 with the bases loaded today. I'm just saying. Diego Castillo will come out of the bullpen for Arizona. Corey Julks has 3 hits in this game, but Kyle Teal's a little better against righties. We're going to bring him in off the bench. He's played well through his first 2 games, hitting .500. As he lines it into right, it's caught by Carroll. We'll look to send in the runner. Andrew Monasterio safe at the plate off the sacrifice. A successful AB for Kyle Teal, and it is now 8-5 in favor of the White Sox. Luis Robert with a full count. Castillo walked him earlier in this series. This time, he wins the battle. Got him on the slider. Big inning, though. Kick-started by the 2-run double off the bench by Colson Montgomery. 8-5. We'll see if we can hold on to the lead and get our first win of the year a little bit earlier than last year. Remember when we allowed all those walk-offs to start the year? Well, it wouldn't be so easy. Jordan Lawler, RBI double. It's 8-6. The Diamondbacks have 2 runners on base. Another shaky outing from Cionel Perez as he faces off against the walk-off hero from Game 1, Ketel Marte, who puts it on the ground. Ramos, Maton, Perez, ball game! 3-6-1 double play as Perez gets his first save as a White Sox, and we win our first game of the year 8-6 to avoid the sweep. Hagen Smith gets the win. He pitched pretty well in his first start of the year. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we might have something here with this offense. We scored 7 runs per game in the first 3 against Arizona. It was a complete team effort offensively. 3 more hits for Lou Bob, 3 hits and 3 RBIs for Ramos. No homers, but we didn't need the long ball. We did have 2 errors, though. Maton and Julks, do not love that. 5 innings, 2 earned runs for Hagen Smith. He only struck out 1, but overall he pitched pretty well. Bullpen let him back in the game. 2 home runs for Marte. Lawler goes deep as well. But we find a way to get the win. Now here in this first game against the Angels, we're really hitting the ball well again. 8-3 in the 7th. Akil Baddoo has been the star of the show. Homer shy of the cycle against the lefty Robert Gasser. That one certainly is not a homer. Popped into foul territory, and it is caught. Nice grab there over the fence for the first out of the inning. We'll get one more chance here in the 9th against Chase Silseth. 8-4 off of an RBI single by Joe Adell. The 1-1 pitch. Akil Baddoo crushes it into right. The cycle as it's 9-4. Akil Baddoo with a single, a double, a triple, and now a home run. The first cycle in the majors here in 2027 goes to Akil Baddoo. Who would have thought? The Pope is continuing to bless us. First it was the Brady Montgomery walk-off. Then it was selling the team. Now it's Akil Baddoo with the cycle as we win this game 9-4. We have now scored 30 runs across our first 4 games. We lead Major League Baseball in runs per game. We didn't have a lot of extra base hits, though. Other than Baddoo, the rest of the team only had 2. Pair of doubles for Emmanuel Rivera. Colson Montgomery had 3 hits, though. He's hitting .538. Noah Schultz started slow, but really played well down the stretch. 6 2/3, allowing 3 runs, getting the win. We lost the second game against the Angels, and we're nearly going to blow this third game. Drew Thorpe threw 7 scoreless. Nearly blowing it, but it looks like we'll survive. Brian Ramos makes the play off the bat of Logan O'Hoppe as Tony Santillan gets the save, and we win it 5-4, winning the series against the Angels, although Cionel Perez did his best of blowing another one. Another good game offensively. Edgar Caro homers for the first time this year. Colson Montgomery did not play, given that we faced off against the lefty. Drew Thorpe, 7 scoreless. Bullpen almost let him down. Yusei Kikuchi gets the loss, while Russell Russo had 2 errors. And he's only hitting 100. A rough start for the 18-year-old prodigy. So we're 3-3 through 6. The only game we did not hop into, we lost 6-4. Colson Montgomery homered. Luis Robert goes deep as well. Owen White got the loss. He did not pitch overly well. The big story through 6 games individually has been Colson Montgomery. He has been awesome up to this point. He's actually second in the MVP race with Luis Robert in third. I don't know how sustainable it is. Montgomery has like 18 at-bats or something. It might be less than that. I don't know. He's playing really well, which we love to see. Home opener to start the next episode against the Royals. We'll get through the month of April. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.